how moody this bitch is on the cover. Can I make myself look like that? Oh wait, here, I gotta put my hair to one side. Nailed it. One of the things that I love the most in this world is hating things. Hey howdy, welcome back to my channel. This is the book Sad Girls by Lang Leav. Sad Girls holds the place as possibly one of my least favorite books of all time. I read this book last year in 2019. I read it earlier on in the year after owning it for 3 years, and it is yet another book that I purchased because I loved the cover. Red and pink is one of my favorite color combinations, clearly, as you can tell, I'm sure, by all the red and pink that can be found on my channel. I saw this illustration, and I just picked it up immediately. I was like, I don't even need to know what it's about. I just want to read it. I finally decided to pick it up last year after owning it for a couple of years, and this was my initial post-reaction to it. Okay, so before I start the story, I just want to let you all know that this story contains spoilers for the book Sad Girls by Lang Leav, which I do not recommend that you read, but if for some reason you're out here wanting to read this book, then skip this story because I'm going to ruin it for you. So basically, I just want to talk about how nuanced I am in the horror slash suspense slash spooky happenings genre, because literally by page 25 or page 30, I was like, he killed her. I have no doubt in my mind that this suicide was 100% staged and this character killed her. And then the whole book, they're like going through saying like, oh, we didn't kill her, all this shit happens, still hasn't killed her, and then last 5 pages, fucking bam, kills her. So yeah, Sad Girls by Lang Leav. Don't recommend it. Don't read it. It was a really shitty book, but you know, it is what it is. Sorry about my face. That was my initial reaction. I filmed that video clip I think right after I finished the book, and like the whole time I was reading the book, I could not shut up about it to my roommate. Like I just kept going into her room and screaming about this book because it made me so angry and I just needed to talk to somebody about it. And then this is the initial review that I gave it on Goodreads right after I read it. So this is back February 24th of 2019. I get it, okay? The book is supposed to be this huge paradox that makes you question our standard set of morals and whether there are exceptions. But the execution was just so bad. This book is dripping with pretension and had me rolling my eyes once per page. It's horribly paced and read more like an episode of Pretty Little Liars than a work of literary fiction. I love the cover of this book, and I really wanted to like it, but poets are poets for a reason, and Lang Leav should have never dipped her toe into novel writing. Poetry itself is pretentious, which is why pretentious people make such good poets. I physically punched the book at least once. The only part I liked was the ending, and that's just because I love when shitty characters just become shittier people instead of better people. Audrey's fall from grace would have been a lot more poignant if she had ever been a good person to begin with, but she wasn't, so the meaning gets lost under incredibly poor character development. This was harsh, I know, but I gotta call him how I see him. So that was my initial reaction. And initially, if I hated a book that much, I would just move on from it and never think of it again. And that's where this book gets complicated for me. I have probably thought about Sad Girls every day since I read it. That is not a lie. I think about this book constantly. This book follows our main character, Audrey, after her classmate Anna has killed herself by slitting her wrists in the bathtub. Audrey develops severe anxiety for reasons that aren't completely shown at the beginning, but you get more into them as the book goes on. Basically, the main concept is that Anna told a lie. She feels a lot of guilt about this lie that she told, And while she is dealing with this anxiety and this crushing guilt, she meets a boy named Rad, who she falls in love with, and also happens to be the ex-boyfriend of said dead girl. This book is a thriller, technically. I don't know if I would classify it as that, but I don't know what else I would classify it as. It's not particularly exciting at any point, and basically you're following a whole group of horrible people as they make horrible life choices and continue to become more horrible, which I don't know if that was supposed to be the point of the book. There's just something that I am attached to about these characters and this story. The story was so bizarre. It jumps all over the place. There's a whole middle section where she's going to Colorado for seemingly no reason besides just that she wants to get out of Australia. The book is set in Australia, by the way. I forgot to mention that. There's a whole bunch in this book that doesn't make sense. Plot holes galore. My initial impression of this book, I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. So I didn't rate it the lowest I could rate a book, but it definitely was one of the books I've most passionately disliked. Lang Leav is actually originally a poet. She's published 4 or 5 different poetry books, and I have read one of them. I have read Sea of Strangers, and this was actually much better than her novel. I am strongly of the belief that there are certain types of writers and that not every writer can write everything. And so I think Lang Leav is definitely one of those authors where her poetry and her writing ability is definitely stronger than her ability to create a story, which is why her poetry comes off so much better than her actual novels. So you may ask yourself, why am I telling you about this book? Why am I going on and on about a book that I hated? Well, because I found out that Lang Leav wrote another book. And I bought it. That book is called Poemsia. It says on the front cover, she dreamt of being a poet, but what happens when the dream comes true? I decided it would be fun for me to film my reading of this. So let's get into it. Hi, so I just wanted to do a quick first impressions on Poemsia. I read 30 pages of it in like the course of 15-20 minutes maybe, so already very fast paced. This one is YA and Sad Girls is an adult novel, and I think you can definitely tell that this is written as YA, which I personally think is a little bit of a cop-out. I think it's stupid to believe that teenagers and young adults can't read at a similar capacity to adults. I think that, keeping your writing a little dumbed down is not the best choice, but that is definitely the case with this book, and I am just tearing through it already. As you saw in the clip earlier, one of my least favorite things about Sad Girls was the name choice of the main boy, who was called Rad, which was short for Colorado, and unfortunately, to my absolute dismay, this book has the same situation. His name is Sebastian, which is not a horrible name, but he goes by Sash, which is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. So there's that. So far this book is the characters are very cliche. They're 2 best friends, one obviously named Verity, the other one's name is, oh god, I already forgot her name, Jess. And they are best friends. They're very artsy best friends. They like to go thrifting. They like to read poetry books in the park. And the main girl, Verity, is trying to become a poet. And she's just getting into posting some of her poetry online for other people to read. And she is sorting through books because her grandpa owns a bookshop. She lives with her grandpa. Her parents are dead. And her grandma is also dead. And so she lives with her grandfather, and he owns a bookstore. And so she's sorting through a box of new antique books, and she finds a book called Poempsia, which is where the name of the book comes from, this book comes from. And so we're 30 pages in and we're already very into the plot. Like, plot is developing, which makes sense because the book is so short. You kind of got to get right into it. So I'm not upset about that, but it is very fast-paced. Also, within this first 30 pages, she's already met the guy, like I said, Sash, stupid name, and she met him, immediately loaned him a first edition signed copy of this book just so he could scan pictures of it for his friend's birthday, which is conveniently the same week as her birthday. And so she loaned it to him after meeting him for a course of maybe 2 minutes, and was like, oh yeah, sure, you can borrow this very rare book. I'll loan it to you because you're handsome and my cat likes you, and also your name's Sash. So that's where that's at so far. Maybe it'll get better. I'm really trying hard not to just throw this book out immediately because I didn't like Sad Girls. That's not what I want this video to be. I don't want it to be like, oh, I hate this book, so I'm gonna hate on another book. I don't want to do that, and I think that, people can very well write one bad book and then write another great book, but so far this isn't it. So we'll see how it's going. So I just wanted to give you guys some first impressions of what I think. Oh, hello. I thought I'd film in my car for a bit of a change of scenery. Let me get my H&M lanyard off here. I just got off work, and while I was at work, I managed to finish another pretty good portion of Poempsia. We met this love interest of hers friends, which are 2 gay guys, and then this one bitch named Penelope. She's a bitch. And it was hilarious because they were literally talking in the book about people that read books just to hate them. And like I said, that's not what I'm doing. I swear to you. Bashing authors has become such a trend now, Tom sighed. There's even a phrase for it. It's called hate reading. Oh God, Tom, don't even start with all that shit. So it's hilarious that literally there's a line in the book talking about how stupid people that just read books to hate them are, and then I'm literally reading this book expecting to hate it. It's like Lang Leav knew. The plot hasn't progressed a ton. She's gaining more followers on Instagram. So far I thought that this was gonna have some magical realism elements to it, maybe, with the book giving her some kind of popularity, but it seems like maybe that's not the case now, and maybe it's just a repost of a poem from the book that she posts that gets her famous. But I'll let you know. I'll keep you updated. Hey guys, so I just wanted to give you a bit of an update because I'm over halfway through Poempsia now. And I'm actually enjoying it? Question mark. It's not bad. I definitely am less angry with it than I was at Sad Girls. That's a for sure thing. This book is very fast-paced, and so I'm going through it very quickly, which I enjoy. Also, I do love all of the discussion on books and the importance of books and how different people like different things and how nobody has the same opinion on anything, and so that's why all books are important, and I really enjoy that aspect of it. If you're the kind of reader that likes to read books about books, I would definitely recommend this one. I do still find that all of the characters are fairly shallow. They don't have a lot of depth to them. I feel like if this book was longer, Lang Leav could have spent a lot more time developing them, and then it probably would be stronger. And also, the romance in this book is very fast-paced, as, like I said, the whole book is very fast-paced, but the romance specifically is very fast-paced, and it kind of feels like you don't even have time to really notice it happening until it's already happened and is there. So I don't love that about it, but I don't hate it. I definitely don't hate it. The way that she went about becoming famous was definitely different than I thought it was going to be. From the back of it, it kind of made it sound like it was going to be magical realism, and this book was going to have some sort of power over her becoming famous, but that wasn't really how it was at all. She just reposted a poem, and then the poem got reposted other places, and that made her famous. I just got to part 2, which is where she goes to New York. She goes from Australia to New York to do her book reading and signing, and so I just got to that part. I think I'll probably wrap this up tomorrow because it's so quick and I only have about 100 pages left. So yeah, I will definitely let you know what I think, what my final thoughts are when I finish it. Oh, also I forgot to mention that although I hate that the main boy in this book's name is Sash, and I also think that Verity is not a great name either, I have to give Lang Leav some props because one of the dogs in this book is named Little Lord Fauntleroy, which is one of my all-time favorite name choices. Hello everyone. So I just finished the second half of Lang Leav's Poesia, and I wanted to give you my final thoughts on the book. I did not love it, unfortunately. Well, I didn't really expect to love it, I guess, but I was hoping that I would maybe at least like it, and I didn't really like it. And the whole book, they're talking about how you shouldn't hate on books and everyone's their own reader, which is most certainly true, but at the same time, I'm also gonna hate on this book a little bit. So the second half of the book was set in New York. Verity and her friend Jess, they go for her book event that because she's launching her poetry book, and so they go for like a signing. She goes to New York, she meets her icon, Mina Rhodes, who ends up being a huge bitch and generally is very wrapped up in the world of fame. And I felt like with this book, I just kept waiting for the climax and it just never happened. Like, the conflict never picked up, and every time that there was some kind of conflict that was coming for Verity, it seemed like she figured it out very quickly and resolved it very quickly, and then none of it ever actually became a problem, which was a real downer for me. Just the lack of conflict and the lack of movement throughout this whole novel really brought it down, as well as the lack of depth from the characters. They're all very paper cutout. They don't have a lot of emotions, they don't have a lot of layers, and I think that if this book was longer, Lang Leav maybe could have developed that a bit more, but it wasn't longer, so it just didn't happen. I did like aspects of this book in a way that I didn't like aspects of Sad Girls. Sad Girls was very one opinion for me. There was a ton of things I didn't like and not a lot of redeeming qualities. Poesia, however, did have redeeming qualities. It is a book that's made for younger audiences, and YA contemporaries are not usually my thing anyway, so I think that a lot of the reason I didn't like that could just be the genre and not because it was necessarily a bad book. The plot just left something to be desired, unfortunately. I'm gonna give it 2 out of 5 stars, but a less vicious 2 out of 5 stars than I gave Sad Girls. I did really like the way they talk about poetry in this book. It's very beautiful. Like I said, the characters in Sad Girls all seem very horrible people, and as the book goes on, you just kind of hate them more and more. But this book wasn't like that. Verity and her friend Jess were both very lovable characters, very, I think, realistic in terms of friendship. They were just also very one-dimensional. So I didn't hate this book. Lang Leav, still not my favorite writer, but if she comes out with another book, will I read it? Most certainly. Like Sad Girls, even though I didn't love this book, I do think it is a story that is gonna stay with me and that I'm gonna keep thinking about, even though I didn't really love the delivery. So that is what I thought of Poesia. If you enjoyed this video of me reading a book by an author I hate, please give this video a thumbs up or subscribe to my channel if you want, only if you want to. Don't feel obligated. And I will see you next time. Bye!